The next abstract thinking tool is the concepts of context and content. So, I have a unique definition about this one, different from other people's. So, I choose something to focus on, that is the content, and everything else is the context. So it's relative, it depends on the mind. For example, let's say you take a photo, let's say here, and you can choose that the content is the person or maybe the topic, and everything else that you can see is the context. Or maybe you can choose that actually the content is the image, especially the background with this half circle construct, and I'm just here to maybe just to talk about this one, and so it's relative now. So if you use these thinking tools to separate things into content and context, and if you are aware that the human mind makes the distinction, it's not automatic, because the big problem is people usually assume automatically that something is the content, and this can be the reason of miscommunication. So the example is miscommunication. So the typical reason of miscommunication is that the speaker focuses on his or her verbal message, that what he or she is saying, the information. But the other person, the listener, focuses on anything, including the message, including the talking, but it can be about the person's clothes, maybe focusing the relationship, maybe focusing on whether this person respects me or not. It can be infinite other things, or why do you say this? What is your purpose? Why do you want to manipulate? Or can I trust you? Or are you lying? So the miscommunication, one source, of course there are many sources, that the speaker forgets that the other person creates their own meanings based on whatever they want to choose, and probably they choose subconsciously, they are not even aware of this, but they thinking about thousands of different things automatically while listening to the things that I'm talking about. Meanwhile, I believe that my message is the only thing that the other person considers, and yes, maybe I'm aware that gestures and body language can influence the other things, so they teach this, but this is just one more element, but there are so many other things. And for example, if the other person is in a bad mood or in a happy mood, they will interpret what I'm saying, or what I said before influences the meaning of what I'm saying. Like, this is how jokes are created, that you create a frame and then you change the frame, you change the person's perspective. So context and content depends on the mind, and be aware of this one, and then you can play with this, that for example that you can create actually, okay, a good example, flirting, because in flirting both of them talk about some topic, and actually they use this like as the main point is about how they talk, what they do, how do they look, the eye contact, the voice. Maybe they try to use some romantic or sexy voice. And so in this case, maybe somebody who observing this man and woman's interaction, they think that they talk about mathematics, because let's say they use a lot of words that integration is so good. No. So the main idea that an observer who thinks that they are talking about, let's say, mathematics, and that is the content, but actually the two people, they know that the content really is about seducing in a playful way each other, and that what they are talking, it is just a contextual element. It absolutely doesn't matter. They could do the same seducing part with using a total different topics, talking about animals or talking about politics. It doesn't matter. So it can be that the talking, what they're talking, it is a conceptual element, and it absolutely doesn't matter because their purpose, their goal is different.